This is a comedy show. Alice and I were so excited when we saw that you started stand-up. Is that right?
If I bomb, God forbid, on a comedy set, what's the worst you can do to me? I bombed in a courtroom and they sent me to prison, so I'm just saying I'd rather be heckled than shackled.
I myself am almost a joke that's just awaiting a punchline constantly. There's so much of me and whatever weird people, like things that people think about me in their heads. And yet, like, if you throw logic and facts at people, that's not what convinces them. That's not what changes their mind.
Let's get Freudian for a second.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Well, yeah,
Uh-oh. No dicks in any mouths, please.
Hello. I'm Scott Barry Kaufman.
And I'm Allison Reese.
I'm a psychologist.
And I'm an improv comedian.
And using the affirmative powers of yes and, we're going to attempt to do the impossible.
Mend our cultural and political divide. This might get awkward. Awkward.
Today we're talking to Amanda Knox, whose name you may recognize from when she sat 8 years on trial for a murder she didn't commit. As an exoneree, and yes, I had to Google that word, she's written 2 best-selling books, Waiting to be Heard and Free. And she's now an advocate for criminal justice reform and media ethics.
In this episode, we'll watch a stand-up comedy set from Amanda herself, exploring why comedy is her latest tool to make meaning from her trauma. We'll talk about the power of understanding someone else's perspective and why Amanda thinks it could mend our divide. And then we'll play an improv game to help Amanda generate some new jokes.
Yeah, she was really funny in this. I think she's a natural comedian.
I agree.
Amanda Knox, welcome to This Might Get Awkward.
All right, I hope it does.
It already started.
It's already weird.
It's already awkward. Alice and I were so excited when we saw that you started stand-up. Is that right?
Yes.
I did, yeah. It's been a second now since I started stand-up, but I've been very quiet about it. Like, I've been very local about it, despite the fact that actually, I take that back. The first time I did stand-up was for Whitney Cummings, roast of Whitney Cummings at the Comedy Store. So, like, what am I talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Which, like, it's just like a very weird way to start doing comedy with, like, being filmed.
Cool way to start doing comedy. If as a comedian,
it could have been really bad. It could have been really bad, but like,
but it wasn't. It was good.
It wasn't. No, Whitney was very supportive. She really set me up for a successful, positive experience. And since then, I've just had a lot of fun reimagining my life experiences and the ways that I've come to think about just worlds and the world and people in terms of a punchline, because it's true that, like, you either cry or you laugh about it. And like, there are just things that happen to me that are just absurd because of the things that happen to me and people's expectations. I myself am almost a joke that's just awaiting a punchline constantly, because like, there's so much of me and whatever weird things that people think about me in their heads that it's just like begging for a punchline constantly. So I like looking for those opportunities.
They say there's truth to comedy, and in your clip, which we're going to show now, there's a lot. You just stand out there and just speak the truth.
Please give it up for your homegirl, Amanda Knox. There are pros and cons to being Amanda Knox. Earlier this year, I went to urgent care. The nurse took a glance at my chart and said, "Amanda Knox? Too bad that other one ruined your name."
Oh my God!
I am that other one, doctor. I have been exonerated. I'm no longer on trial. And yet, people are wondering, guilty? Innocent, guilty. I'm like the human version of the white, gold, blue, black dress. To this day, some people say, she's innocent, but she sure acted guilty. Imagine if your whole personality was put on trial and the verdict was, she didn't do it, but she made it weird.
Oh my God, that was so
You
good.
gotta laugh at yourself. Yeah, you gotta laugh at yourself. And like, that's just true stuff. Like that actually happened at the doctor's office. And
That's wild.
at the time that it happened, I felt just horrible. Cause like, not only did I go into urgent care with like a wound that needed attending to, like I was already just kind of like rattled from that whole incident. But then I have this doctor who has like clear, like negative associations with me, who's like attending to my wounds and then like reveals this prejudice about herself. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow.
That's kind of scary. I'd be like, uh-oh, are you going to not treat me and my wounds?
Yes, awkward. But yes, you're right. Like I did have that thought of, oh no, am I going to not receive proper treatment, right? Like I don't know. Like, again, I don't know what this person has in their brain about me. Right. And therefore I don't know what they are capable of doing towards me. Right. And so at the time I actually was, and again, because I was already amped up by the fact that I needed to attend to a wound. And so this just rattled me further. And it was a very actually distressing experience at the time. But like looking back on it, I recognize that there is like so much comic potency to that because it is so awkward.
Yes.
And like, what do you say to that? And then you're like, okay, well, I came in with a physical wound, but I left with an emotional one. So, you know, like you know,
hey, you got to write that down. You got to write that one down.
I'll write it down.
You're like a natural comedian.
I mean, not in the moment though. Like that's the thing that I wish I was better at is like being super witty in the moment. It's just after I think about it that I process it and I go, oh, that was actually really funny. But at the time, I just felt like I wanted to die. Like that's what it is. And
it's so funny you keep mentioning thinking back on stuff and like at the time it's not funny, but now it has this, because like tragedy plus time is, you know, comedy. That's the famous equation.
That proves true for me.
Yes.
I don't know if that,
not
like,
for everybody.
Have you found that is the case for you?
For me personally, yes. I have had, you know, my own personal tragedies at varying levels that I definitely try to make funny and try to relate them to an audience in a funny way.
How'd that go?
It's a mixed bag. I'm like going through a divorce and sometimes I'll mention that and it'll get people bummed out. They'll be like, oh.
Yeah. How do you deal with the bummed out factor? Because I feel like sometimes when I talk about this stuff and I specifically talk about it with a punchline in mind, I get the vibe that like they're sucked in and they're really like engaged with this, like what I'm telling them. But they're like, am I supposed to laugh at that? Like, it's almost like, wait, did you say a joke? Like, or did she just say something funny, but now I'd be an asshole if I started laughing? And I'm like, no, please do laugh. I'm laughing. Are you, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a key indicator that there's a lot of tension built up. And like comedy is so, it is parallel to horror in that way of like, it's just a buildup of tension and then you want to release it. I'd say if you're coming into that, find a way to release that tension up top. I, for a while, started doing a thing with stand-up where I would tell the audience in the beginning, I'd be like, hey, if I talk about race, are you guys going to cry or will you be cool? You know, it'd be like approaching it in that way of like just releasing that tension.
Yeah. How do you give people permission to laugh? Yeah.
And it's a thing with satire, too, of like, you want sugar to help that medicine go down. So it's like you're kind of always fixing the levels of what that is, at least in my experiences. But holy crap, incredible job.
Are there any jokes that you're working on that you're like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm not, it's too soon. I can't quite crack that. Yeah.
I mean, here's what I would love to like joke about. Like I would love to make dark jokes, but I feel like I'm not allowed to make dark jokes because there are so many dark associations with me. And so as soon as I like, I think some of the best, like I was just actually looking up a comedian who I love for his like dark jokes, Anthony Jeselnik. Do you guys know Anthony Jeselnik? He's a great stand-up comedian, and he's really well known for like dark jokes. Like one of his jokes that I just thought was and he's so brilliant in his build-up, right? He's almost like mathematical in the way that he constructs a joke, which I find fascinating because I'm a little more organic and a little more like goofy, and he's just like deadpan, bam, punchline, and it just like slaps you in the face with the punchline, and you're just like almost left, at least me, I'm almost left like breathless by his punchlines. But like one was a really great setup where he talked about, oh yeah, my dad is one of those guys where he just figures it out for himself. He's not the kind of guy who's going to read the directions or follow the rules. He's a hands-on kind of guy. And so when he's raising me, and it's my time to learn to swim, he doesn't send me to swimming lessons. He just throws me in the pool and teaches himself CPR. Like that's and he delivered it way better than me. But like the idea is like, you think he's about to throw his kid into the pool so his kid can learn to swim as well. But no, it's so that he can teach himself CPR. And it's just so like dark and funny. And I wish that I need to like build enough credibility in myself as a comedian in order to pull something like that off, I think.
I was gonna say you can go to the moon as long as you keep a foot on the ground in terms of like dark content.
Maybe I should just do prison jokes though, like dark prison jokes, because nobody knows. Okay, here's where it's like, okay, one of the reasons why I love comedy is it's all about human connection, and one of the things that I have found that's really challenging about my experience is because it is so extreme. It's really hard for people to connect with it. And the number of times I hear people, very well-meaning people saying things to me like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it must have been like to have gone through this experience. And they're saying that in a really they're trying to be really respectful to my experience by saying that. But one of the more tragic parts of what I went through is how isolating it was, like how I knew it was an extreme experience. I didn't know anyone else who had gone through what I had gone through. And so I felt really ostracized by the rest of humanity. And it was really hard for me to reestablish connection. And comedy is a really great way to establish connection, to level the playing field, and to take something that might be extreme and somehow render it relatable. And so I think that's one of the goals that I have in doing comedy and trying to find, if we can all laugh about it, it's instead of being like, it sort of takes that distance away from when someone says something like, oh, I can't even imagine what you've been through. Yeah.
Let's get Freudian for a second.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Well,
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. The producers are like, cut.
No dicks in any mouths, please. All right, go ahead.
Hello. I was just going to be very innocently. Freud just viewed humor as a mature defense mechanism. He had all these defense mechanisms, and people treat it like these defense mechanisms are like maladaptive, or they're all not helpful. But a lot of people don't know that Freud incorporated about 3 or 4 that he said these are good defense mechanisms, and he included humor as one of those. And I was wondering, to what extent, to help you get through this terrible ordeal that you went through, did you use humor as a coping mechanism in prison?
Well, depends on the time in prison, right? So I was in prison for 4 years, which is a long time. And I was, it's not as long as some people that you hear stories of. I certainly was not in prison for 40 years. Like I know a person who was was last week in a room with a person who was in prison for 46 years for a crime he didn't commit. So like, wow. Comparatively speaking, it's not a lifetime. But it's a long time, especially in the life of a young person who is like still developing as a human being. And in a big way, I grew up in prison, and the ways that I grappled with it changed over time. And I would say that actually humor was almost an immediate defensive response before I even went to prison. When I was, and this was actually used against me, when I was in the immediate wake of like finding out that my roommate had been murdered, and I'm in the police station and I'm being questioned. And then when they finally like let me out of questioning, I'm sitting there in the waiting room waiting to be questioned some more. One of the things that I wrote down in my notebook was, I wish I could say that I'm dying to have a slice of pizza right now, but that seems off. And that was just like my brain, like just spontaneously using, like, I was not trying to make a joke in that moment. That's just literally the thought that came into my mind, which is, how many times have I said to myself, God, I'm dying for a slice of pizza right now. And the same, I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I've just been answering questions all day. And the thought comes to the mind, that same thought, oh, I'm dying for a piece of pizza. But now I'm in a totally different context where someone I know has just died. And like now I'm having a whole other meta level of awareness about this like little joke, this like dark way of communicating in my brain. And I write that down in my notebook, which for all my intents and purposes would never see the light of day. Mm-hmm. Well, I get arrested, my notebook gets confiscated, and that is used against me as a sign that here's Amanda just like cracking jokes after her friend got murdered. She clearly doesn't care that her friend got murdered. She's clearly just having a good time. So that's one way that I used humor that definitely backfired.
It does strike me as that it is another example of like releasing tension, right? Like there was all this tension built up and you just want to release it. And I wonder if that's like a very American thing too, to want to release it in a laugh, or in an observation like that.
I wonder. And, I don't think Americans can all be globbed together into one cultural perspective. And I'm certainly the type of person who's not going to be over the top dramatic hysterics. But like, in those early days, again, like I haven't even talked about prison yet. Just in those early days, I had a ton of different reactions to this scenario. And like none of them felt like I was choosing them, right? Like one moment I was just shocked. Like I was literally dead possum. I was just like, what is happening right now? And not sort of like, does not compute. The app just closed. Like cannot take in any more information, just sort of like, error. And then another moment I would be like almost giddy. And it was a little bit reminded me of this one time where I almost died in a car crash when I was a teenager, actually. So I was in a car, I was in the passenger seat, the driver was turning left, and the oncoming car, it was like twilight time. The oncoming car didn't have their lights on. And so the driver didn't see the car coming. And we got straight up T-boned by this car. And I was the one who was right there. Like all of a sudden, here's a car like in the door that I am like, I could have died. And we were spinning. I remember the car was spinning. And at the time that it was happening, I was laughing hysterically.
Wow.
Like I was just like, I just was like, it was like somebody was tickling me. Like I was giggling, I was laughing. And I remember as soon as we stopped like spinning and the car stopped and me and the driver look at each other and we're both like, oh my God, we're alive. I'm still laughing. And he's like, what is wrong with you? Wow. And I was like, I'm alive. Oh my God, I'm alive. Like it was just like my body's sort of reaction. And so I wasn't like, I didn't have that strong as a reaction when I learned that Meredith died, but there were moments where I was like, oh my God, I could be dead right now. And then there was almost like this weird sort of like lightness, almost like you were a little dizzy, and you were a little giddy. Like I had moments like that. And then I had moments where like, especially when they brought me back to the crime scene and they asked me to look through our knife drawer to see if there were any knives missing, and just like the sort of visceral reality of what had happened to my roommate became really clear in my head to me. Like as I'm being asked to like touch knives, like I just I started having a panic attack, and I couldn't breathe. I freaked out. I was sobbing hysterically. And so like I had a lot of emotional reactions to this very, very traumatic incident in the span of those few days leading up to my arrest. And I think all of them are natural reactions to being overwhelmed, and they're not chosen reactions, right? Like these are just like my body is being flooded with so much information that I don't know how to process. I'm a 20-year-old kid whose nothing bad has ever happened to me before. Like the closest I ever got to anything like this was being T-boned as a teenager in a car. And at that moment, I was laughing hysterically. Like these are all natural things, but if you want to view them through a lens of suspicion, like you can view them and say, oh, well, that's not the reaction of an innocent person. And that's how a lot of people sort of came to choose to view my reactions instead of having a more empathetic lens and going, wow, here's a very young person who is very overwhelmed and doesn't know, like she cannot compute what is going on right now.
Sounds like a very valid trauma response to me. Like
we can look back on that now, but like to this day, people will go on YouTube and find old footage of me and do like behavior analysis of like my eye, like where my eyes are looking when I'm talking to somebody.
Everyone's an amateur psychologist on YouTube.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know how you feel about that, SBK. Like,
well, I've done my behavioral analysis of you, Amanda.
Oh, thank God. Someone really had to like put their stamp on it.
I did mine. And as you know what I think of you, which is it's positive. And I also think, you are quirky, we've discussed, could you be neurodivergent? Is that a possibility? But, you're just Amanda, and I think like people are seeing the lovable side of you now. I think that's the point, is like, it's amazing. The Gestalt, right? Like, Gestalt theory, there's a whole theory in psychology, called Gestalt theory, which I wish could have a comeback, but it relates to you so much because
tell me about it. Please explain this to me.
All about people perception. It was all about how the whole Gestalt of a human and the way we view someone can change it's such a fragile thing. It can change in on a dime. What's the expression? Change on a dime. I think that's the expression. I'm bad with my metaphors, but I think that's it. Yeah. And so, if you view someone in a certain situation and it's the only time you see them in that situation, your whole Gestalt of that person is that person's evil. But then, you see them and they're like helping a granny cross the street, it's not, we have trouble with complexity of humans. It's either we have one whole Gestalt of a person or we hold another Gestalt in our working memory, but humans are terrible at holding multiple, perceptions of a human in mind at the same time.
Almost binary in that way of like, I feel like so much of life is on a spectrum of things. And to like be like, oh, I'm going to view this person in this one way is so limiting.
But I think Amanda has like reclaimed the truth, right? I mean, help people see, definitely change the Gestalt, through the Hulu series,
I mean, so here's something that I am just still trying to figure out because like, I don't understand how people change their minds. And this is something that has been one of the big philosophical, psychological questions of my entire adult life is how and why people, first of all, come to the conclusions that they come to, but also how do they come to change their minds? Because this has been the problem of my entire adult life is that like I came into the public awareness in my existence, just sort of blipped into the public awareness in this extremely, extremely negative light. And one that was like about as negative as like, I wasn't like responsible for genocide, but like it was like up there in terms of like how bad badly people perceived me. And like what was so fascinating to me, especially as like I tried to like grapple with this, it felt like so much of people's really strongly felt opinions about me were not actually based on facts. Like that, like it was less about facts. It was more about a story, but even that story, like embedded in it were ideas about people that were sort of being projected onto me and that had like nothing to do with me. And so I then had to think, well, how am I supposed to change the mind of a person who's not even really thinking about me in terms of facts? Like for, you know, in a court of law, and, you know, we like to think that like in a court of law and even in the court of public opinion, like, you know, in journalism, we like to think that we are arguing on the level of facts. If we just like, if we confront each other with facts, some facts are going to contradict others. And like ultimately truth is going to be, you know, figured out once we like confront these facts together. One of the arguments that my attorneys made in court was 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 still equals 0. So I don't care how much, you know, evidence you say that there is in this case, none of it points to Amanda. Like there's no evidence of her in the room where her there doesn't make any sense. And yet, like you say, there's all of this like circumstantial stuff, like, oh, she didn't cry or she cried or you know, like whatever. Like they're saying she's not acting like an innocent person, but show me actual evidence. Like what, you know, and yet, like if you throw logic and facts at people, that's not what convinces them. That's not what changes their mind. And that's a shocking reality to face, because I would hope that people's perceptions of me would be based on facts. That's what I deserve, in the sense that like people shouldn't think I'm innocent because they like the way I look, or they, you know, like they shouldn't think that I'm guilty because they don't like the way I look. And yet like there is an element of that, of like, do I feel like this person is relatable? Do I feel like this story that I'm being told has resonance with me? How people feel about facts, how people interpret the meaning of facts is entirely related to just how they feel. And that's really scary to me, honestly.
This weird pivot maybe, but this does remind me of the political phrase of like, that's a guy I want to get a beer with, I'm going to vote for him. Where it's like, that's based fully on emotion, that's based fully on your perception, that's not based on facts or this person's track record or anything like that.
Yeah. And like, you know, I'm actually, this is very close to mind, not just because I think about this a lot, but also because I've been reading about it a lot recently. But like I've been learning about deep canvassing. Have you guys ever heard of deep canvassing?
No.
Okay, so
sounds very Freudian.
Yeah, I mean it's so it was developed by LGBTQ advocates when they were trying to figure out why people were voting against same-sex marriage. And eventually they just decided to go out and ask people, which is something I love, because it's like, it's the thing that nobody thinks to do.
It's
just ask
answer.
Somebody, why do you do the, why, you know, and like at the same time, how else are you going to, I had the same thing that came through my mind when I was like, why did my prosecutor think that I was a rapist and murderer? Well, why don't I just ask him why, you know? And so they went around and they asked people, and instead of trying to confront people with evidence that would contradict their firmly set opinions, instead of like putting people on the defensive and asking them to like justify their feelings, they just asked them about their feelings. Oh, how do you feel about same-sex marriage? Oh, do you know anyone who is impacted by same-sex marriage? oh, how does it feel that your nephew is transgender? And like getting into the feelings of it, never confronting them about it. Like, it was not about confrontation. It was not about telling them that their feelings were wrong. It was inviting them to explore where their feelings were coming from, and then asking them if they had experiences themselves that seemed to contradict those feelings. And so instead of like trying to persuade them with facts, they were inviting them to explore, where do my strongly felt feelings come from? And do I have experiences of my own that even contradict what I strongly feel? And in that way, deep canvassing is always about helping people to convince themselves out of their strongly held belief systems.
Oh, I love this. Do you think this technique could help mend the political divides and craziness we have going on in this country right now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it's very similar to nonviolent communication, which I've also read about. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. But that's like, it's less about, I think that a lot of people think that in order to change minds, you have to debate people. And I have found that debating people is the best way to get someone to be more entrenched in their viewpoint. And instead, it's about having a conversation with someone to explore very deeply what they believe. Because like a lot of people don't even know why they believe the things that they do. Like, we like to think that we are logical and rational. And in the number of times that my prosecutor has like told me I am a logical and rational person. And I'm like, okay.
Like, that's a bad thing.
Well, I mean, sure, great. You may be logical and rational, but what your logical and rational mind is really good at doing is just justifying what your already held beliefs are, what your feelings are.
Wow.
That's where like Jonathan Haidt's The Rider and the Elephant metaphor come from, where like when he did, have you read The Righteous Mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great book, but one of the best metaphors that and it continues to this day to be like, oh, this is so true, is that if you think of our mind, one metaphor for it is it's a guy who is riding on top of an elephant, and he has the reins. The guy who's on the elephant has the reins. He's the rational mind, and he can sort of kind of nudge an elephant one way or the other, but it's an elephant. It's a fucking elephant. And the elephant is going to do whatever the fuck it wants. Yeah. And so like usually what ultimately happens is that the guy on top of the elephant is telling himself, oh yeah, the elephant went right because I told it to. And in fact, it's actually the elephant just went right. And the guy is convincing himself, he's finding reasons why the elephant went right. Oh, the elephant went right because there's an apple tree over there and it wants an apple. Like that's what our brains are doing. And so I think the best way to help people change their minds is to like try to understand them. Because if you get into a place of listening and not feeling the need to contradict necessarily, but just like explore, just ask the why question over and over and over. Oh, really? Huh? Why do you think that? Oh, really? Huh? Why do you think that? Like, just keep going. Eventually, people are going to come to a place of like, well, shit, I guess I just sort of learned that when I was a kid. Or, oh, shit, I guess I just had a bad experience at a dental clinic when I was 3 years old. And now I have strongly held beliefs about, dental care, like whatever. Like there's a lot of the times, like there's just an emotional experience that someone had. Or like a lot of times it's just like, oh, well, this was a belief that my father had. And because I love my father and I want to feel connected to my father, I have entrenched that belief in me, because otherwise I have to have weird now feelings about my father being a bigot or whatever, like that's,
Emotions are so powerful in that way. And it's like when we talked about this with another guest about validating people's emotions in order to get to the facts, in order to kind of get to the root of stuff. But yeah, it is incredibly like how powerful that is. And this is a huge tangent, but like this, because emotions are so powerful, I saw the second Ghostbusters first. I saw like the all-female reboot. That was like my first Ghostbusters
Wait, you had never seen Ghostbusters before that?
I know. I'm like,
okay,
what kind of a comedian am I? But I had not seen Ghostbusters. I only saw the Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones one.
Okay,
and then
so how
like,
was it as like a fresh
experience? I was like, this was really good and cool. I loved it. And I was like, this is so fun. I don't understand why people are so like angry at it and like why it's like just really showing me how much people hate women. Because then I went back and I watched the original, which was like, I watched it backwards. I watched the female version reboot, and then I watched the original, and I was like, the original, I had one laugh that whole time. I laughed out loud once, and I was like, okay. I mean, the nostalgia is powerful.
Nostalgia is powerful.
The emotions are it will override what's up here often.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I still to this day haven't seen I wish I had seen the reboot Ghostbusters so that I could like contribute to this, because I did grow up watching the original Ghostbusters. And like I have all this nostalgia in my brain of watching it with my dad, because my dad thought it was hilarious.
You love your dad. You want to be like, well, I'm on his side.
And I love my dad. So how could you do this to my dad? You know?
That's everybody's real problem in politics.
Right.
We all have daddy issues and we're not getting down to it. Is that right, Scott? Is that Freud? Something like that?
That's very Freudian of you to say.
I have mommy issues, so.
Right.
So if your mom loved Ghostbusters.
Yeah. If you want me to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, our next question.
You write about it in your book.
Can we move on?
You act like you haven't. It's not out there.
Next question. I almost wonder if we should do some comedy with Amanda, like do a little.
Oh, yeah.
I don't do a ton of improv comedy, but this should be fun. All right, let's go.
This is an improv game. I'm calling it Parenting with Me. It's a line game. So, Amanda, since you are a secret stand-up, we here at This Might Get Awkward decided to help you churn out some new material. So we have a list of suggestions on what parenting with me is like, and it's the job of me, Amanda, and Scott to come up with a punchline on the spot. So let me give you an example. I don't know if that was super clear. If the suggestion was basketball, we might say, parenting with me is like basketball. It's a slam dunk, right?
Okay.
Or
okay.
Parenting with me is like basketball. It's a contact sport. Or parenting with me might make you say pass. Okay, so that's kind of the gist, and we'll just go through a bunch of Amanda-specific suggestions. Excuse me.
Okay.
Amanda, does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's go. Let's see.
So this game comes from a line game called Sex with Me, of a similar.
Okay. Sex with me is like a baseball. You know,
fast, right?
Yeah,
it's 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna get a suggestion, and that'll become part of the setup. And based off of that, we're gonna create a punchline, just like what Amanda.
Are they all parenting with me?
They're all parenting with me because I did peep Amanda's stand up about parenting, and I was like,
nice.
Hell yeah, girl, let's get some parenting material.
All right. Yes, love it.
All right. So, parenting with me. Our first suggestion is getting exonerated. I can go first. Parenting with me is like getting exonerated. You're going to feel free.
Okay. Parenting with me is like getting exonerated. You just want to go home and eat a hamburger.
Parenting with me is like getting exonerated. I had to Google what that meant.
I'm like Googling it right now.
Oh, okay. Exonerated means that you know, it's like your wrongful conviction is overturned and you're vindicated and freed. So that's what it is. That's what exonerated means. I'm an exoneree is what they would call me.
Oh.
So let's see. Parenting with me is like being exonerated. You don't know where 30 years of your life just went.
Damn, that's good. That's good. Parenting with me is like being quirky. So parenting with me is like being quirky. I feel like it was more fun in the early aughts.
It's so true. The manic pixie dream girl thing. I like to blame that for my entire wrongful conviction, because it's like, you know, that girl who with the pink hair and the ukulele who's dancing in the rain. Yeah, that's cool as long as it's not a Law and Order episode, and then it's fucking downhill from there. Yeah, okay. Parenting with me is like being quirky. You need a hot glue gun. Like, I don't know, like fucking.
Okay, parenting with me is like being quirky. There will be ukuleles.
Yes. Yeah, okay, parenting with me is like being quirky. Pancakes are literally every meal of the day.
That's good. Hopefully I'll get one funny one in here.
Just like, I found, like, I don't know if this works for you, SBK, but I found that, like, just saying the words, parenting with me is like blank, just, like, forces you to finish the sentence in your brain for better or for worse. Like, you don't know if it's going to be good.
When I did improv, I took classes in improv, they had a rule for me. They said, Scott, never say, for everyone else, I want them to say the first thing that enters their mind, but I would always say the first thing that entered my mind, it would be like, too weird. So they had a rule.
No, dude.
They had a rule. It's always SPK. Always say the second thing. Because I did get some ideas as we were going. I was like, no, there's no way I can say that.
I would love to hear those first thoughts, Scott.
Yeah, what were your first thoughts? Come on.
No, so weird.
You're holding out.
I'm thinking, because I'm like, I'm overthinking everything, but I actually had thought to myself, if I don't have a child by 50, I think I want to be a single dad. You know, I've thought about this. You know, I think I'm just want to raise a child by myself. So I was thinking, like, well, that's really quirky. And I was like, parenting with me is quirky. Like, I'll be the only parent or something. And I was like, wait, but that's weird. That's not funny.
Okay.
You guys agree?
Parenting with me. No. I'm finding a way to make this joke work. Parenting.
Can you help me with this one?
Yes, let's do it. Let's break it down. Parenting with me is like being quirky, and we want the punchline to be around being a single dad.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
I feel like being single dad is maybe the punchline. Parenting with me is like being quirky. You'll be Mr. Mom
I'll be alone forever.
Yes. Other ones I have, let me list them out. Being wrongfully accused of a crime, writing under a pen name, being in a documentary, talking to one of the Cuomo brothers, topical.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. So parenting with me is like being in a documentary. Everyone has a fucking opinion.
Parenting with me. Okay, so documentary makes me think of edits. So parenting with me is like being in a documentary. You didn't see the full edit.
Parenting with me is like being wrongly accused. Nothing you say will save you.
That's so good.
Parenting with me is like being wrongly accused. You're kind of just always asking, how did I get here?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Parenting like me is like being in a documentary. You'll think to yourself, what the heck? That really happened?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Very good. I'm just going to say whatever comes to the top of my head. Okay. Parenting with me is like being wrongly accused. You'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah. I'll never stop talking about it.
I'll never stop talking about it.
And you'll never stop talking about it.
It takes over your life. It takes over your life. You'll never be the same.
Yes.
We got to do one with the Como brothers.
The Cuomo brothers.
What was the Cuomo brothers? What is this?
It's like talking to one of the Cuomo brothers.
Oh. It makes you not horny anymore.
Okay, how about parenting with me is like talking to one of the Cuomo brothers. You're like, is it really because you're Italian or something else?
What do you got, SBK? Throw it out.
Oh, I don't know.
It's weird.
What do you think of when you think of the Cuomo brothers?
I think of machismo, right? Like, so I'm trying to think of something relating to that. Like, pairing with me would be like talking to one of the Coen brothers. It'll be a gun show every night. You know, it's a gun show. You know.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Come
yeah,
on.
all right.
For people that can't see, you know, I'm holding the gun show being the biceps. I'm trying to think of the pen name one.
Parenting with me is like writing with a pen name. I will never take responsibility for all the mistakes.
Why did Allison talk about an unsung hero?
I was trying to give you one, brother. All right.
Oh, nice.
Parenting with me is like writing under a pen name. Talk about an unsung hero.
There we go. There we go. I love it.
I'm so bad at this improv game that I need to cheat. I'm like, oh, Allison, help me. Well, Amanda, I think you did fantastic, honestly.
Oh, thanks. Well, that's my first time ever doing one of these, so that was fun. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, and like that's great because I'm, again, like not the kind of person who usually makes jokes on the spot, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, see, you can do it. And you did it very well.
You think improv, if we taught everyone the skills of yes and how to play parenting with me, this could diffuse some of our divisions?
I love talking about yes and again, it goes back to that, like finding ways to validate what's in front of you and make it work. Like I love that. Instead of just like fighting the hypo, you know, like you don't like this is your life. Figure out how to make it work. It doesn't have to make sense sometimes, and sometimes you might be going down a path, but you can always find a way to like make it make sense and turn it around for you. And I actually think that when things are going down a path where you're like, I don't know, that's when you like have to adapt and really find what's important to you. And like that gives you more direction to steer things the way you want them. So I love that. That's a great metaphor.
A wonderful metaphor of acceptance.
Oh, yeah.
Acceptance paradox.
Acceptance and that's the thing is like, I think like a lot of people feel like they need to be in opposition to the things in their lives in order to like take a stand for what they believe in. And I think it's like, okay, but I think we waste a lot of our like creative and productive energy that way. And we only have so much, you know?
That's so interesting you say that. We think we have to be in opposition because really you get a lot more done when you're in that like acceptance, when you're in agreement, when you're in that
when
mode
you're in a
of
flow,
yes and.
right? Yeah. And you're finding a way to be like, okay, I see you and here's how I'm going to make that work.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that I'm tolerating something that you're doing. Like this is, again, like a way, like yes-anding is also a really cool parenting technique. Like one of the biggest lessons, one of the best parenting lessons that I can give anyone is try to say no as little as humanly possible. Find a way to say yes, even if it's like, yes, we can have ice cream tomorrow. Like they want ice cream now. It's like what they want to hear is that their desire for ice cream is being validated. It doesn't have to be validated right now. Or even like, I want to play video games all day. Well, what I'm hearing is that you want to be stimulated and interested in something all day. Let's find a way for that, like to make that work. Let's find a way to say yes to what you really want. That's like the best thing that I can possibly recommend anyone, especially with a toddler, is it's like, find a way to say yes, even if it's like delay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Finding ways to be in agreement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't like, if you can try to just flow with what you've got and like figure out how to direct people's energy instead of like put obstructions into people's energy, then I think you're going to have a much easier and more effective life.
And Freud would agree with that. Amanda Knox, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Yay! I love
you.
getting awkward with you. Thank you.
It was hardly awkward at all.
It was hardly awkward. It was awkward, just a smidge.
This Might Get Awkward is hosted by me, Allison Reese, and Scott Barry Kaufman. Our producers are Julia Pinheiro, Kelly Leonard, and Gabrielle Yasek. Our editor is Peter Cooper. Mix and master by George Miata. Graphics by Alec Hall. Special thanks to Melissa Miller, APM Music, and the Argosy Foundation. This podcast is a production of The Second City.